Mother-in-law created big problems between me and hubby, so we decided to divorce. 3 years later, when I saw mother-in-law again at a family gathering, she laughed and said, I had warned you that I will make my son divorce you. She was shocked when I laughed and said, What divorce? Hubby and I revealed a long kept secret to mother in law. My life fell apart when my husband, Atlas, found out that I had an affair. Before you judge me, let me tell you that I never had an affair. It was all a made up story by my mother in law, Lauren, who hated me with a passion. Lauren is one of those vain, sophisticated ladies who look down on everyone who doesn't belong to her class. Being an office receptionist and coming from a relatively poor background made me a bad daughter in law in her eyes. She had tried to end my relationship and engagement to Atlas, but we ended up getting married anyway. However, on the day of the wedding, she came up to me and said, I will make sure that my son divorces you, Ivy. I will not let you ruin his life. How am I ruining his life, Lauren? We have been together for 3 years already. Why can't you see that I love him? Love means nothing, Ivy. You are not suited for my son. He deserves an educated partner like him, who at least finished college and comes from a good background. You are no match for him. I agree that I'm no match for him, but we love each other and are happy together. I'm sorry to say this, Lauren. You need to accept this now. Oh, we will see about that, Ivy. Consider this a warning. Just because you two are getting married, that doesn't mean this will last. Lauren's words had hurt me a lot. I never went to college because my family couldn't afford it. I had decent grades, but going to college wasn't in my books because I needed to work to support me and my family. I do have some regrets about it, and it did make me feel very insecure. Atlas was a grade A student with a finance degree, so he was spades better than me. Still, he never held my lack of college education against me. He loved me for myself and knew that we made a great couple. However, his mother always thought that I was beneath them and that her son deserved better. I should have taken Lauren's warnings seriously, but I didn't. I really didn't know that someone could be so evil as to destroy their own son's marriage. But Lauren did it. Around 8 months after we got married, Atlas came home furious and started to blame me for cheating on him. A nasty fight later, it was clear that someone had made up a story about me cheating on him with my coworker. Apparently, the co-worker provided proof and kept saying that we had an affair. I must say that it was a well-made plan because the proof he showed would make anyone sure that we had an affair. But all of it was made up. I had begged my co-worker to tell Atlas the truth, but he kept saying that I had an affair with him. Lauren did her part and told all family members and presented them with the so-called proof. Within a month, my marriage was over. Atlas had filed for divorce and I lost my job because word got around to my boss. I was forced to move out of the city because I couldn't get a job there. I was also too heartbroken to be around Atlas and his family. While it broke me to know that my husband didn't trust me, I also couldn't deny that the proof he had given made me look completely guilty. But I had no way of proving myself either. I was sure that my marriage was over. But 2 months after I moved, Atlas showed up to my door crying and begging for forgiveness. He had gone to confront my coworker, and the man basically confessed to everything. Atlas is a very tall, muscled man, so his angry form is very, very scary. I guess my coworker was too scared to make stories and blurted everything out. This was all Lauren's plan. Lauren had paid my coworker and faked texts to make me look like a cheater. He even had screenshots of his conversations with Lauren and the money transfer that she did. Atlas immediately stopped the divorce, came to my city to beg for forgiveness. In the next few months, he went low contact with his family and moved to my state with a new job. We started to try and rebuild our relationship to see if our marriage still had a chance. We lived apart but sort of dated each other. One day, when Atlas was over at my place, he said, I needed to talk to you about something, Ivy. It's really important. What is it, Atlas? It's just that I haven't told my family about us. Wait, what? So they don't know that we are still together? Nope. They're not aware of anything, Ivy, and I sort of want to keep things that way. I was a little shocked to know that Atlas hadn't told his family about us trying to make the marriage work. It had been 4 months since we had talked about reconciling, so I thought that maybe he had shared his plans with at least some of his family. But Atlas told me that no one in his family knew what was going on. I must admit that it hurt a little to know that he didn't tell his family about us. Still, I swallowed my hurt and decided to hear him out about his reasons, so I asked, Why? Why don't you want to tell your family? Don't take this the wrong way, Ivy. I want to tell everyone the truth about us, but I don't think now is the right time. I don't want Mom to find out about this. So, you plan to keep her in the dark about everything? Yes, sort of. I know that she will start creating trouble again, so I would rather keep this under wraps for now. I was growing skeptical about Atlas when he said that he didn't tell his family about us getting back together. I felt like he was pushing me away and maybe still had second thoughts about the divorce. But when he actually explained himself, I realized that he had some good points. Telling his family may result in Lauren knowing about us. That would cause her to create problems between us once again. So Atlas's words made sense to me. I said to him, Oh, I see. Is that why you didn't tell anyone? If I tell any of my family members, the word might get back to my mother. I know that most people are on my side, but I don't exactly know how many of them are siding with my mom. I really don't want to mess up this second chance I'm getting. I think you're on point with what you said, but we can't keep this a secret from everyone, Atlas. I know that, Ivy. I will be very honest with you here. I don't know what the future holds for us, but for now, I don't want anyone messing this up. But if we actually decide to stay married, I would need your backing when Lauren would lose her mind over us. You don't have to worry about that, Ivy. I may have been a horribly spineless husband the first time, but this time things will be different. I know that I'm lucky to have another chance, so I won't be messing up this time. It made me really happy to know that Atlas was willing to stand up for me this time. The separation was pretty fresh even at that time, so I had been feeling a little unsure about everything. But I realized that Atlas was doing his best to make this work. I knew that he deserved a second chance, and so did I. We were determined to make this work because at the end of the day, we loved each other a lot. My husband was actually taking steps to make sure our marriage would survive, so I was positive that things would improve in the future. I was right about it all, guys. Things did improve a lot in the future. In the beginning, things were a little hard with Atlas and me being in different cities. There was a small gap in communication, but it actually ended up making us get closer. Atlas spent most of his free time with me whenever he wasn't too tired from work. I too loved it when he came over. Sometimes it really felt like the separation and all that drama never happened. I guess part of the reason why I felt that way was because Lauren was staying out of everything. She was like a parasite, sucking away the joy out of everything. But Since she didn't even know about us the second time, she stayed away, much to my delight. Atlas and I eventually moved back in together, just on the outskirts of the two cities. We found a place that was a reasonable distance from both his office and mine. The commute was about 40 minutes for both of us, but we made it work. So 3 years after we had decided to separate, we were back to being together. The second time around, things were way more magical, and it truly made our relationship great. We had some really hard talks during this time, and we both realized that we had made some big mistakes. But we also knew that Lauren was our biggest problem. That's why we ended up never telling her about our reconciliation. Eventually, Atlas and I moved back in together. We had come a long way from the past, and the future looked really bright for us. Years of therapy paid off, and we were confident that we would be able to make the marriage work this time around. Since we were both living away from family, we didn't have to explain to people what we were doing. My side of the family knew and kept quiet for my sake. Atlas didn't bother telling people because he was taking a break from his family, especially his mother. In the 4 years that had passed, he hadn't even bothered to attend many family events and stayed away from Lauren as much as possible. Only a few cousins who came to visit us knew about our reconciliation and promised to keep things quiet. Thankfully, they loved me and didn't even make the mistake of slipping up and telling people. Then, one day, we got an invitation to a cousin's baby shower. It was at this shower that I came face to face with Lauren again. Atlas was with me when we went to the event, but Lauren didn't see us together because she arrived late. By that time, we had separated and were chatting away with our own group of people. Lauren was super surprised to see me, but quickly changed her expression. She smirked and walked up to me, saying, "I should have known that you would be here, Ivy." "Yes, Lauren, you should have known that I would be here." My niece always had the habit of loving strays and picking them up from the road. Looks like she didn't stop. I believe that was a direct insult to me, but I have trouble understanding why I'm being referred to as a stray. Lauren laughed when I asked her why she had called me a stray. Look, I'm not stupid. I am well aware of why she called me a stray. It was because she thought I was at a family gathering despite not being family anymore. She didn't know the full truth about me and her son after all. I could have corrected her then and there, but I decided to play around a little. I saw Lauren's niece, whose baby shower we were at, winking at me and smiling. That was the green signal I needed to finally teach my horrible mother-in-law a lesson. I was prepared to be called names, and boy, I was not disappointed. Lauren said, "Oh God, I can't believe how stupid you are, Ivy. You don't understand why I called you a stray. Well, why don't you use your brain and figure it out?" I tried, and I still don't understand what the problem is, Lauren. Your niece also happens to be a good friend of mine, so I have every right to be here. God, you are truly shameless, aren't you? You should have known better than to show up here after the little scandal you got yourself in. I couldn't believe that Lauren would still bring up the scandal that she had created. I guess she really didn't have any shame. I don't know if her paid actor told her anything about him exposing her plan to us, but it looked like Lauren was still the smug little trash that she always was. We both know that the scandal was completely made up, and I had no part in it. So I can't see why it should bother me. I know that I never cheated on Atlas. You know that too, Lauren. It doesn't matter, Ivy. Everyone here knows that you are a cheater. Look around. People are already whispering about you. Everyone knows what a tramp you are and how you have hurt my poor son. I never hurt your son, Lauren. The only reason the people here are whispering about me is because you messed up my reputation and marriage. You should be ashamed of yourself." Lauren started to laugh when I said that. She was having fun at my expense. She was right. Family members who didn't know the whole truth were whispering about me, and I got a good amount of nasty looks thrown my way. I didn't blame them because my clever mother-in-law had done everything possible to make me look like the bad guy. Besides, I never confronted her or revealed her true face in front of everyone, so they had no way of knowing what had gone down. But I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. This was my golden opportunity, and I already had the blessing of the cousins who had organized the event. So I didn't have to worry about destroying their day. If anything, they seemed to be super excited to have Lauren exposed at the event. What can I say? They loved me and wanted to be a part of my little revenge. So there was no reason for me to hold back anymore. I was determined to expose Lauren. My dear mother-in-law had no idea what was going to happen to her. She smirked at me and said, "Who cares about all that nonsense? Everyone knows that you are a woman of loose character and are totally unfit for my son." None of that is true, Lauren. Atlas and I were perfectly good together until you decided to wreck my marriage. If you hadn't been such a vile woman, things would have been much different right now. What can I say, Ivy? I had warned you that I would make my son divorce you. I simply followed through with my threat. You should have taken my warning and left on your own. Then I wouldn't have had to go to such great lengths to ruin your reputation and cause your divorce. What divorce, Lauren? Yours and my son's divorce, of course. Who else would it be? I don't understand, Lauren. Who told you that Atlas and I got divorced? What? What are you talking about? Atlas filed for divorce and you two are separated. Maybe the divorce isn't final yet, but it will soon be. Lauren was all smug. I could tell that she wasn't even sure about where Atlas and I stood about the divorce. That was obviously because Atlas had stopped talking to Lauren about us. So Lauren didn't exactly know what was going on, but she was sure that Atlas and I would divorce eventually. She has done a great job of sowing seeds of doubt in my husband's head. She would have been successful in getting rid of me if her paid actor didn't confess. I had been beside myself in anger and sadness when I discovered the truth, but I smiled the smile of victory when I said, "Oh, you poor thing, Lauren. I see that you have some glaring misconceptions about my marriage. Atlas and I are not divorcing." "That is impossible. You're lying. I know that you two are divorcing. Atlas filed for divorce because of your cheating." "Oh, he did file for divorce and suggested separation, but sorry to say, Lauren, the divorce, or the separation, isn't happening anymore." The look of shock on my mother-in-law's face was absolutely priceless. She looked pretty gobsmacked and shocked. The expression was downright funny to me, and I had a hard time holding in my laughter. My husband's cousins were already snickering as they overheard our conversation. Lauren was so shocked that she started to get excited and got really loud when she said, "No, no, no, this can't be true. You are lying to me." "Why would I lie about this, Lauren? I have no reason to lie. Atlas and I are not getting a divorce. In fact, we're not even separated right now." "Wait, what? You two are not separated anymore?" "We went back to living together 2 years ago. You can say that we are pretty much back to what we were before." "No, no, no, this can't be true. You're just trying to make me angry. My son would never get back to you." "Why don't you ask your son about that, Lauren?" Atlas was tipped off about the commotion, so he left his group of guys and came straight to us. He knew well enough that one of those days we would have to confront Lauren. So you can say that he was more or less prepared for the little showdown that was happening. He looked extra solemn when he approached us and said, "What's going on here?" "You tell me, Atlas. Why is this filthy woman saying that you two are living together again?" "Well, she's saying that because it is true, Mom." "What? Then what about the divorce?" "It's obviously not happening since we are back together. Divorce is off the table for good, and it will never be an option for us again." Lauren looked like she had been handed a diagnosis of a terminal illness. You would think that the world was ending or something. She had this extremely shocked and stricken expression on her face. I have no idea why someone would be this sad over another person's married life. It was just ridiculous. But then again, this was my mother-in-law we were talking about, and she hated me and didn't want me around. She didn't think that her glorious plan would fail and her precious son would end up getting back with me. So, when she discovered that we did get back together, she started to cry and place all the blame on me, saying, "I can't believe how shameless you are, Ivy. You have managed to sink your claws into my poor son again." "I have no reason to be ashamed. I know that I didn't do anything wrong." "How dare you, Ivy? How dare you say that you didn't do anything wrong?" "Because that's the truth, Lauren. I didn't do anything to be ashamed of. I mean, that's why Atlas and I got back together, right? Do I have to remind you about what you did? Oh, God, I can't believe you want me to air your dirty laundry in front of everyone." "I don't see why there is hesitation, Lauren. You had no problem airing my so-called dirty laundry to everyone before." "Well, they needed to know what a cheap woman you are. You cheated on my son and destroyed his life. You belong on the streets, Ivy." "Oh, really, Mom? Is that really the truth?" Lauren looked pretty alarmed when her own son was questioning her narrative. This woman had thought that her secret would never be out. What a shame that not only was Lauren caught red-handed, but also exposed in front of her whole family. It was a shame for her, but it was poetic justice for me. It was my time to shine, as Lauren's evil actions were coming back to haunt her. She looked downright maniacal when she tried to defend her statements and said, "Yes, yes, you know that Ivy cheated on you, Atlas. You had the proof right in front of you." "Oh, yes, that proof, right? Well, about that, tell me something, Mother. When were you going to reveal to everyone that you faked everything?" "What? What do you mean? What are you even saying?" "I'm talking about the fact that you deliberately set Ivy up so that she looked like a cheater." "I did no such thing, Atlas. It is bizarre that you would even be accusing me of such a thing." "So, are you telling me that you didn't hire Ivy's coworker to fake having an affair with Ivy? Didn't you collaborate with him to create fake messages and make it look like Ivy was cheating on me?" Lauren looked like a deer caught in headlights. She didn't expect Atlas to discover the truth so easily. She made me lose my job and move away so that Atlas would never be able to find out the truth. But things didn't quite go as she had planned. Lauren still somehow thought that she had a chance of playing innocent, so she stammered and said, I don't know what you're talking about, Atlas. Ivy must have been putting thoughts into your head. I would never do such a thing." "Oh, please, Mom. You are perfectly capable of doing such a thing. Don't you dare blame Ivy for this." "Son, listen to me, dear. I have nothing to do with Ivy and her coworker. She's making up stories to cover up her affair." "Come on, Mom. The truth is already out in the open. Just accept what you have done. You will only end up making things hard for yourself if you continue to deny things." "I'm speaking the truth. There's no way I was involved in those scandals. It was all Ivy's fault. No one can prove that I had any involvement in it." I have proof that you have a big involvement in this, Mom. Since you won't accept your wrongs, we will do this the hard way. You have left me no choice but to expose you in front of everyone. Although I should say that this is what you deserve. What are you talking about, Atlas? I went to confront Ivy's coworker after she left the city. I had all the intention of beating him to a pulp for breaking up my marriage. Your little paid actor is such a weakling that he took one look at my angry face and immediately broke down in tears. He told me everything, Mom. I had suffered for 6 whole months just to see that look on Lauren's face. Her pale face and unfocused eyes said everything that people needed to know. It was clear that she was guilty. Lauren was already crying, but now she went stone cold and couldn't believe her ears. She was being exposed in front of her whole family. Speaking of the family, they looked shell-shocked as well. Like I said, most people didn't know that Lauren had faked everything and we had found out about it. So when they heard the truth, they couldn't believe their ears. Lauren was also having a hard time accepting that we had caught her red-handed. She started to cry and said, "No, no, I didn't do anything, Atlas. You have to believe me. This is all a setup." "Yes, this was a setup that you have orchestrated, Mom. The man showed me all the receipts, the texts between the two of you, and even the $10,000 that you sent him for his trouble." I, Atlas, please listen to me. "You knew that he was having money problems because Ivy had mentioned it in front of you. I'm not shifting all the blame from him, but you basically took advantage of this poor financial condition." There's no use denying all this, Lauren. We have plenty of proof that we have already shown all the cousins who met with us. We won't have any problem showing them to everyone here, too. The cousins started to tell everyone that they had indeed seen the receipts and what we said was the truth. One of them had the receipts saved on their phone because we had sent him that for safekeeping. Those screenshots were pulled out and chaos ensued. People started to yell at Lauren and charged her for what she did to us. They couldn't believe that Lauren was capable of being such an evil woman. The extended family were not happy that they basically hated me for 4 years for nothing. All their hatred was based on lies. Most of them immediately apologized to me for their past behavior, and I assured them that I didn't blame them for their reaction. After all, Lauren made a very convincing case against me. After about 10 whole minutes of people bashing Lauren, she couldn't hold back her tears at all. She was downright sitting on the floor and sobbing as people said some nasty things about her. She also saw that Atlas and I were both silent. In fact, we proudly held hands in front of her to make sure she saw how badly her plan had failed. What was supposed to break us apart only drove us closer. We had a stronger bond than before, and we were able to let everyone know what a snake my mother-in-law was. At that point, Lauren knew that she couldn't deny the truth anymore, so she cried and weakly said, I know I messed up." "Oh, yes, Mom, you messed up big time." I'm sorry, Atlas. I was just trying to look out for you." "You were trying to look out for me by taking the love of my life away from me? That was a brilliant plan, Mom." "I'm so sorry, Atlas. Please forgive me." "That won't be happening, Mom. I will never forgive you. By God's grace, I got my wife back. I would have lost her for good if you had been successful in your plan. I will never forgive you for this, Mom." "I'm sorry, Atlas. I made a huge mistake. But look at this. Your marriage is still intact, and I'm sure your bond has become stronger after this. Don't you dare try to take credit for things getting better between me and Atlas. We put in the hard work to make this work. It took us 2 whole years to build back the trust we had. All of this because of you. I lost my job and reputation because of you. I, I'm sorry, okay? I don't know what you want me to say. You don't have to say anything to me, Lauren. You can say it to the judge after I sue you for destroying my reputation and making me lose my job. Lauren looked thunderstruck when I informed her that I would be suing her for damaging my reputation. It was something that Atlas and I had been considering for a while. We wanted to work on our marriage before getting into all the legal trouble with Lauren. We didn't want her to know about our reconciliation and cause more trouble. So plans to sue were put on the back burner. But now I had no reason to wait anymore. I was going to go through with the case. My stupid mother-in-law started the waterworks as soon as she heard that I would be taking legal action against her. She started to apologize and begged us for forgiveness. The extended family were not happy with her at all and kept hurling insults at her. She cried and became desperate to remedy the situation. Unfortunately for her, she had done something so horrible that it cannot be forgiven in this lifetime. At least that's what Atlas and I feel. So Lauren was begging in vain because we would have pursued legal action anyway. Later, at the party, my mother-in-law was unceremoniously thrown out since no one wanted her there anymore. The baby shower continued, and we actually ended up having a great time. We came together as a family, and lots of people poured their hearts out while apologizing to me. It was a bittersweet day, but the outcome was positive for us. After the baby shower, things started to get messy because Lauren wouldn't leave us be. We went to court to sue her, and she didn't like that one bit. Thankfully, instead of creating trouble, she just begged for mercy. Our response to that was going completely no contact with her for good. Atlas made it clear to her that she shouldn't be contacting us again or we would call the cops. You can only imagine how insane that made her. There was nothing she could do anyway, so she had to accept it. As for the lawsuit, I won it, of course, and Lauren had to sell her house to pay the money that the court ordered her to pay me. It was rather satisfying to see her lose a big chunk of her wealth to me. Again, poetic justice, guys. I hope she has learned her lesson because she's staying far away from us. Atlas and I are expecting our first child this year, so we are taking extra precaution to keep her away. Wish me luck, guys.